hoàn toàn giải thoát khỏi những ràng buộc của chân và huyễn, siêu vượt danh tự và các tướng của sinh, diệt và trụ, siêu vượt đến và đi, lấy và bỏ. Mandala tối thượng chính là cảnh giới tâm nguyên sơ. Con xin dâng cùng tất cả, và qua đó nguyện con được gia hộ để đạt tới cảnh giới Phật. Completely liberated from the clouds of real and unreal, transcending the names and attributes of arising, cessation and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The supreme mandala is the natural state. By offering it, may be placed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Om Guru Deva Dakini Ratna Mandana Pratisha Sokha.
Sao qua lại và sờ bắt?
Đúng không?
Sanje Chodam Sojin Chonam Lai Chanchu Pardo Dane Jebun Che Dagi Jinso Jimbe Chonam Dola Penchire Sanje Rubar Joy Sanje Chodam Sojin Chonam Lai Chanchu Pardo Dane Jebun Dagi Jinso Jimbe Chonam Je Dola Penchire Sanje
诸佛正法圣众会，直至菩提，我皈依。我以布施诸功德，为利有情，愿成佛。
By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings.
是无量心。
Dunge mebe dewa da menjwa jurje niren chada nidan jurve da nyumla nebra jurje mananga da nyam simje damje dewa da deven judan dembra jurje dunga da dunga judan jurje jurje Dunge mebe dewa da menjwa jurje niren chada nidan jurve da nyumla nebra jurje
是无量心，愿一切众生具得极乐因，愿一切众生离苦及苦因，愿众生不离无苦之妙乐，愿永离爱憎常住平等舍。
May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
常在瓦当觉见小巴当结束也让古人说罗也也众在大给介绍他们见走北长洲全部
顶礼以及供养忏悔仪，随喜功德敦请持住事，凡诸为许善业我积聚，总为圆满菩提而回向。供曼达。
如根南的贤德觉不修，各所用作拉美错南来，切那上顺提心念见，大律龙就南西用些拉美求给我真的说，我们个人的完扎根。人那们的拉巴的耶说话，
香水涂饰花朵铺满地，圣山四周日月为庄严，圆念佛刹一座供养故，愿诸众生受用心净土，景象三身圆满上师众，外内密三真如一供养，无生之财万物悉受以无上殊胜成就其至于Om Guru Devada Kini Radha Mandala Praktija Soha.
And all that is visible, please grant me the supreme realization and enlightenment.
Samje namje sambadha loye jeda jedrava jejong tumo tebaye jujeng gulo gurdu su.
请转法轮，一切众生之思慧，根器不同而见之，共与不共大小乘。其请殷勤转法轮。
The dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
Kanji Kuruwe Jansu Jisaran Shankara Gawale Dhubran Zebe Gajurim Boche Jiva Nambrata Vejenjen Chenabje Chujun Jesu Chimbe Yandrase Mesheje Manam Jachewa Yunungwa Lenje Dribe Dubje Chemame Bela Matambanung Lachan Zarjan Chudo Jebzon Chewa Shinje Labran Zedu So Dojin Chamandelo Naroda Marmeta Baparin Jitenga Kodin Sumden Zave Lamesh Zaju lama yedam chuzong la survan de so da jushin jelo chen zeng da den ba zo san je kandur manga bar den lam ra shara tu ji ran jin tar be lam den ba yong zhen xin yin nam la gu jan la dan lam mi mam je wang bo dan ja jin la zo chu je chong la cha wa che ba nam san je song ra ra de shi jin de we ju ju ba de dan che je tam be chun yin bar yang de shi shi 남가다님 베슴제 탐제게 된도 도절라나 메브라 양탑으로 저거 산지지 공부한 담바 진내정 도그렇자 대체도 담배 추성과 퇴바당 삼바 bombegonen 주버지고 냠베 삼바 천춘초도 레브라산데 셈브르쇼 텔란데 간식 셈브르 체베 추데 다탐주 봉바지 외중 어다 쇼르 체베 갑든데 지임바레
with the motivation, with the motivation of like to attain the Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings as vast as the sky, and in order to receive the teachings of the Gongchiks, and practicing and meditating the Gongchik teaching. So with this kind of meditation, kindly listen to the teaching.
我们首先要有一个正确的发心，我们就是呢为了利益一切如虚空的有情众生，而今天来这个时间，在这边呢来听正法一意，来加以闻思修，以利益众生，请以这样子的发心来听法。
추데 두즈다우레 근데 두즈데 루세게 너 나신데 나랑 소레 디인도 자네 너데 야고지 여바이나 두즈데 톨란조 요마레 베티나신도 나랑 소기 주데 야고지 여바이나 근데 추데기 제우 조금 메야당 어다 추 텔라테네데 펜데 자침부 토토야 어든지 용거여와 디인도 자네 추 코란경원에 양다바지랑 짱마 어떤데지 레데 이내 나랑 쪽에 되는 주데 짱마 마차와 이나더냐 추게 펜토용야 데스 갈레 카본조지 용거에 송거로와 근데 인도자네 너게 쩐숨 세야지 방고레스는 송거요레 인도자네 등에 쩐숨도 제일 마슈인.
In order to listen to the teachings of Dharma, usually it talks, there's a saying that talks about the three folds of the container. And whenever you listen to the teachings, we have to be free from these three folds. And like, for example, the teaching is like a nectar. The Dharma teaching is like a nectar. And even the teaching is like a nectar. If the container is not in a condition to receive the teachings, then it is not like a favorable condition to receive the teachings. So therefore, from here now, I'm going to talk about what are the three faults of the container.
那么为了要能够好好的听法呢，正确的听法，我们要避免这个以我们自己身为容器来讲呢，有3种主要的过患。那么我们要知道法教就如同甘露一般，那如果说我们的容器不合适的话，则可能会染污的这个甘露，也就是这个法教。所以呢，接下来我会讲这3个这个过患，容器的过患是什么。
他等于那个捐送使用的章呢，等于去年别告诉，等于日本今年每年哇，那看不到这个捐，是他开始讲是那就有吧伊呢，等于都是就路过有呢，那的嘛不比较吧伊呢，地难了地干了嘛就，他都是伊呢，是我嘛伊呢，看的路吧伊呢样，那嘛提把就用途嘛哇，过那的嘛不比较吧伊呢，地难新鲜呢，等于他等的。나와 메테바스 추게 식당 추게 되라 되는지 리바 제직도 듬네 미님바서야지 너가 전 당부데 카부바다고 전서야 대인바래.
So the first fault is like when you listen to the teaching, not listening the teaching like with the attention or attentive. So what happened is whether it's a nectar or whether it's a nectar, Dharma nectar, or whether it's the milk, if you don't listen carefully with the attention, then it's like putting down the cup. In the same way, it doesn't matter how you pour the nectar or milk on you pour on the cup, it will not contain in the cup because the cup is put upside down. So therefore, in the same way, if you have no attention for what you are listening to, then this would be the same causes of not having understanding whatever the nectar of teachings is given.
那第一个过犯就是当我们听法的时候，如果我们不去注意听的话，那就是即使法像甘露或者是牛奶一样，如果当我们不用心听的时候，就好像把杯子上下颠倒放着，对不对？我们在倒牛奶的时候或者甘露的时候是倒不进去这个杯子的，因为它是上下颠倒的。
那的呀，卡塞呢？那下个难心前呢，俺就去了推把起来告诉那北京，那我的做我提到了吧，年头去结果嘞，电的上呢，推把个卷，那看不到是推把了就能送用过的，怕么这边。
So like there like when we talked about the three kind of like the fault of listening to the Dharma teaching. So here, I'm going to start quoting the Pamadupa's statements. And what he said was that, so when we are listening to the Dhamma, we should always open our ears or open up for, in the same way that like a cup, which is open up and which is empty and open up to receive the whatever it is for in. So whatever the teachings is given, So if there's no like kind of attention, then it's not possible to have that teaching instead. Also.
那至于刚刚讲到说听法时的3个过犯呢，我会引用帕玛祖巴祖师过去曾讲的言教，就是我们应该要这个听法的时候，我们要用心，然后耳朵要注意的听，这样如同把这个我们的杯子弄清净，那么这样子一边可以听法，或者是说一边可以装法的甘露，这是第一种描述。
样那样的没结巴，这大动物呢就顶啥不好过呀了。 삼는 망부 당고로 디난 신체네 다 튜바 제베게 된다 디토라 디네 삼는 당고다 베나 텐줄 니에가와레스네 송연도 산에 최근에 나다 텐줄 니에가베 좀 세 망부 송거로 다디 튜체베 제라 디네 소소라 출잖네 베나지 니 가탕데 컨디션에 주의도네 컨디션이 가오ren도 드네지 다든소 컨드르지 텐주 니 가베 토라 나도 삼식지 고로와 다서 고와 지부 팽마와 띠엔도 전에 다 니바데 갈고르스나 삼바스 해도 고로와 줄라 퇴바 삼바스 다 삼베 값수 쩨 가르방고레 세도 전에 네 샵드로 나신게 쩨데 방고레 송베레 네 샵드로 세도 전에 너도 다 오만다고 지다야나 두선다고 지 루고요나 디 뇌데 샵네마 이홍메와 뇌데 빼지 쩨가야메와 지고로와 계세야 지 수르도와네 이홍요나야 오마치로 된루레 두세치로 된루레 네 샵네 있는데 빼지 쩨야 말아와 정말 된루로와 디나신 지류산에 tenenganzo chula samba chebe kapsu karigorasana yangne yangdo tengores ji juya yomares no shabdur ki chun nanjin de pangores temado dene amchona chu ko dene nima chingni jila ko je nangme tangsha bayina dene no shabdur da gu chun de cha sonarwa de indu zane yangne yangdo samne oya de chidu zane dene dande no shabdur da gu chun de sambe kapsu pangores 어떤 대신에 300의 쩐데 너 샵들었다고 그랬으나 손발에.
And the second fault is like we have to avoid like a kind of the container which has a hole below it. So what happens is when there is a hole below it, then whatever you pour in it, all will leak down and it will flow down. It will not contain. It will not protect the water or whatever there in this container. So therefore, it is given here during the time of the listening and during the time of contemplation. And the second one is during the time of contemplation. One should avoid the fault which has a hole in it on the container, and we should always reflect upon what is listened, what one has heard, and we should, in order to deepen the meaning of that, one have to think over, contemplate over it again and again, and try to furnish the teachings that we have. Otherwise, if you don't do that, in the same way, like the container which is whole, it doesn't matter how much you pour in that cup, everything will go away, strain away. So therefore, the second one is to avoid the container which is whole, the faults of that.
那么第二种过犯就是避免容器里面有一个洞，那要不然的话，如果说这个容器有一个洞，我们不管倒入什么东西都会流出来，所以这个指的是我们在听闻佛法的时候以及思维佛法的时候应该要这样子的注意。那么我们的听闻如果有洞就会流出来，那思维的时候也是一样的，如果说这个容器有一个破洞的话那一样也会流出来的。我们在听闻佛法之后，我们应该要反复的思维所听闻的，以便能够加深我们的理解。如果说我们听闻佛法之后没有去反复思维的话，那不管我们这个听了多少法教，那它就像有个洞的容器一样，它慢慢会流光的。不论我们倒入多少甘露或牛奶，都是有一天会倒光的。所以这是第二个过犯，在听闻跟思维的过程中要避免让这个容器出现这个空洞的情况。
출랑라 예배 가라서 소소로 예배 녀몽게 님볼라 따다 로토바지 소고 그레스 마도베 녀몽게 님볼라 로 마토바이나 출랑지 곰바이나 야테 너두 예배 나나 칼라루지바나지 차노 그레스 티치도 자네 되네 그 지베다 야 톰본톰보 차ချင်း게 따와 공부요나야제 야나 제렘게 라 공부요나야제 야나트니 텐주르 니에가와라 소보 공부요나 카레야나양 간들 곰바티 소소그 줄여요베 녀몽베기 님볼론 로토바지 조고레스 근데 녀몽게 님볼론 마송와체네 공기 녀몽 체르체른로야 최라 퇴바 제기 녀몽 체르체른로야라 소보 중송아이나 근데 마펜바레스 틴드자네 곰베캅수 녀몽게 님볼라 따다란 로토바지 조고레스 대송바레 숨바들라
So the third default is that one should try to avoid like that of the container, which is like contaminated with kind of poisons. And like if there is a kind of substance which are the poison in the cup, doesn't matter how much you pour the nectar, or how well you put the milk in it, it is a kind of waste. So it's not helpful to drink, or it's not proper to drink. So this was actually put in the terms of the meditation. In the terms of meditation, when you're doing meditation, as per the Pamadupa stated that when you are doing meditation, so that time, whatever you practice, whatever you receive the teaching, first, you listen to the teaching, then after that you contemplate to the teachings, and after that, finally, when you do the meditations, whatever the meditation you're doing, it has to be directly opposing or directly going to strike your afflictive emotions or your ignorance. Otherwise, if it doesn't go it doesn't work it doesn't serve for the antidote to the emotions or ignorance, then it doesn't make any sense. Whether you are doing like a practice of Chaja Chambo, which is the highest practice, or kind of like a generation practice or visualization or whatever the meditational practice you do, you have to be free from this kind of like a fault, and whatever you practice should go directly striking your ignorant mind and to be purifying your ignorant minds. Otherwise, it is no use, like same as this kind of the container which has been contaminated with the poison or whatever. So therefore, whatever you do, the practice, then sometimes what happens is, rather than clarifying or purifying your mind, you become more emotion, like afflictive emotion there, more anger or more like kind of aggressive, then it shows that it doesn't help. So therefore, we have to avoid this kind of container. So this means to help yourself more purifying, more stronger, more peaceful, and more on the path to the liberation. Lasoda.
那么第三个情况呢，我们就是讲到修的部分了，就是避免我们的容器是染污的。如果说这个容器里面有染污，甚至是装的毒药的话，那么无论我们倒了多少的甘露或者是牛奶，都算是浪费掉了。根据帕摩祖巴祖师的讲法呢，他们讲的第三部分就是禅修的时候，无论我们所听的什么法，我们的所谓的禅修应该直接是跟对治我们的无明是有关联的。
So then when we talk about the listening or putting the practice into the Dharma, so they said, when you're listening or contemplating or meditation or the practice, one should put these three kind of the practices into a day-to-day life practice. It is easy to say from the mouth, but when it comes to the practice, it is not that easy. It's not easy as what it is easy to do as it is said. But somehow, because of our previous lifetime, like infinite lifetime that we have been have a kind of we are actually have this kind of experience for many lifetimes. So therefore, it's a kind of our ignorant mind. So it's not easy to avoid for the time being. But somehow we should try our best. Up to which extent is that possible for us to do that?
那么如果说我们禅修的跟没有办法直接对应对治我们的无明的话，那么不管我们修的是升起次第或是最高的，比如说大手印等等的，这都是没有用的，就好像我们装在一个染污的容器一样。我们这个经法修法主要是要净化我心的一个目的，而不是让我们的内心增加更多的烦恼。所以呢，主要就是要净化我心，然后以求速得解脱。所以无论是在听法过程当中的闻、思、修这3个步骤呢，我们一起在生活上当中应该要能够应用出来，不是光嘴巴讲一讲的。嘴巴讲是比较容易的，但是要放在我们日常生活的行修行是不容易的，因为我们从无始以来的习气的串习，因为无明的缘故，所以或许一下子没有办法去改正，但是尽管如此，我们还是要努力去改变自己的这个行为跟思维，然后让我们的闻思修都是导向于法，也就是导向去除无明或执。
아이네 세단데 제서비 질라 선바지우당 지 텐데 연구 말했대 이나 녀몽 세단 제 짐백가더라 두분나 진진의 제 연구요 대인도 전에 대양 뭐 시야 디스칼레 카보다와 세단데 근데 창다고는 대래양 칼레 카와래 대인도 자기 러벤 아리안데베 송도와 러벤 루두고 소마로와 근데 찬 자민 잔다와스 근데 차서야때 저랑 그 도봉문에 말했대 이네 줄에 제 연구 전에 문에게 도포 야부인 만나지는 제용그레스 어떤데 손발 띵도 전에 먼저 녀몽 제용도 아직 지기 예받은 것이 앞에 갈래카보로와 다 이나야 제데 이나야 드니 지 추라 퇴바나 삼바 곰바서야 다 텐데기 탑람게 좀발라 때네 퇴베 녀몽마 띠스 중고는 퇴바 삼베 델레야 녀몽바 슈체왕 건는 퇴바 곰베토네 녀몽바 때네 받는 지 트로트바지야 다 텐데기 좀 드네지 송는 거요와 어디엔도 전에 드니지다 다지 녀몽 제야티 벨레 라워임바 지기 예바 함모고와 오다 텐데지는 용연도 드네 텐속이 님볼라 드네 주르다 앵고레 선테지 송거로 가서 주두고에 좀 생다고도 배치 텐속인 게 있어래
So now when we talk about the 3 different kind of abandoning the faults of it's because of like how we try to avoid the afflictive emotions. There are many different kind of methods how we can avoid the afflictive emotions, sometimes through the like kind of listening to the teachings, and sometimes looking up to the condition of the causes and the conditions and so forth. Usually, these are all in order to try to avoid the ignorant, attachment, and hatred. So usually when there comes an ignorant mind in ourselves, it is very difficult to understand. If it is very difficult to realize, like when you sleep, it comes like an ignorance, so forth. Like, for example, ignorance happens within oneself, arises within oneself without knowing how it happens. And at the same time, the attachment and hatred happens as if it comes to our support, like behaving like kind of supporting oneself. For example, if you're angry with somebody else, and the hatred comes to be like kind of supporting oneself in order to defend others or something like that. In this, though at the time of defending yourself with the hatred, it is not happy, but it seems like it works as a support for you. So it's difficult to understand or difficult to notice that it's an ignorant thing. And at the same time, the attachment is even more difficult to understand than compared to the hatred. So because what happened is here, the attachment comes as like a kind of a friendly or supportive or complimentary to you or whatever. So, for example, Aryadeva, he stated that the attachment comes as if friendly to you, being friend to you. So therefore, it's very difficult to understand what are the ignorant and what are the things to avoid. Therefore, there comes a three different categories how to avoid these kind of all these emotions and afflictive emotions or ignorance. First, listening to the teachings, and secondly, contemplating to it, and thirdly, how to eradicate from the root. Then we need a kind of meditation and so forth. It's not easy, how all the ignorance were coming up. It's very difficult to understand. But somehow, with the contemplation of, with the listening, contemplation, and with the practice of meditation, it will be slowly, it's possible to eradicate this kind of ignorance. Last one.
那么我们一开始要找出无明是不容易的事，因为那个这些贪跟嗔呢，就是好像是用来支持自己的一种行为来对抗他人。所以以嗔心来讲，除了支持自己之外，并不能够真正的解决问题的。那比起嗔心来讲，贪执还是更加难以对治的。这点呢，引用一个圣天菩萨过去曾讲的话，他说贪心就好像我们亲近的朋友一样，所以呢，我们可能不会去觉得他有什么样的过患，所以呢，这样子讲来呢，他就是更难要改正了，要纠正了。所以我们要对治我们的无明的话，找出我们的无明，应该要听闻法教之后要思维其意，并且透过禅修在日常生活中来转化我们的修行，才能够真正的从根去除。那这个过程当然是不容易的，但是我们还是要慢慢的想办法去把它去除掉我们内心的三毒无明。
간데 이민 된소양 예배 돈이야 그 님부지 땜바이남 드네야 데스지 녀몽을 카데 잡도에 녀몽 빠야다 녀몽 권노야라 펜도 슈치와 연구로와 베나드네 이렇게 투출라 난도 짜기 된소 다보야고 잡고로와 마도 권차완도 오지 포송아이나 야도 돌아 참고로와 드네야 근게 감도 오지는 그 투출도 등도 자네 자마기 된소 다보야고 잡고로와 디나신체네 나랑주 줄유베 녀몽기 님보텔라야 야 뒤숨게 토네더니 슈체숑기 와다 님보텔야 텐데 용거래 송바테인도 다 텐소데 지당도 남준 당부 셴바치 셴네 드네야지 디토라 데스 타블럼도 오지 랩토가 중앙이나 야보 여러분 텐도 다 텐데 지래
여러분 디 야카기 디스데 같이 송송아
야카기 다보 야고 잡으러 와라 짜기 자
라스
가스나 곧 돌아 찬으로 그런 잘백이 넘버 차는
라스 코스. So now here, like for example, how to like kind of facing the ignorant mind in terms of the time, and what it says is generally what the Lord Jigten Sungin stated is that, like in the morning time, Aryadeva stated that in the morning time, usually the ignorant mind is very powerful. So therefore, one should focus how to avoid the ignorant mind, because you feel sleepy or whatever in the morning time is quite dizzy and something like that. But in the afternoon is like we should be careful about the hatred and anger. Why? Because in the afternoon with the many activities of many works, usually what happens is one easily get anger. And at the same time, it's sometimes we get hungry, and it's easily when we are hungry, a little bit hungry, it's easily, you get upset and angry. So therefore here, in the afternoon time, it's more we should apply the kind of perseverance, patience is more needed in the afternoon. And whereas in the evening, it's more as like kind of attachment, because when the time when it becomes like in the evening, so usually what happens is attachment comes more in our, like human, like kind of human experience. So therefore, with the time, we should able to, put some strike to the ignorance or afflictive emotions. For example, in the summer, when the rainy season, we need to protect the iron stuff. What happens is if you keep away the iron stuff in the rainy season or in the rains or in the water, it will rust, and easily it may be damaged. But whereas in the winter time, like we should protect about the kind of the pottery things, pot, which are made of pot, because of the cold and very and like kind of froze, the pottery thing will be easily damaged. Therefore, so we need to protect the pottery thing in the winter. In the same way, so with the three different kind of timings, or the duration timing. So one should have to know how to apply for the ignorance, and also for the attachment in the afternoon, attachment in the evening, and the heart rate in the afternoon. So this is how one should apply in terms of the time.
那圣天菩萨呢，对于这个如何面对我们自己内心的无明，在时间上他也有如此的建议。早上的时候，我们的一般来讲无明是比较强的，那所以我们要小心我们的昏沉跟我们的无明。那么在下午的时候呢，因为许多的白天的这种行业造作容易升起嗔心，所以呢，我们要注意我们自己的嗔恨心的升起。就好像我们在饥饿的时候就容易不舒服，心情也会变得不好，容易生气一般，所以我们要好好的来修持我们的耐心，增强我们的耐力。那到了晚上的时候，一般我们的贪执之心就会比较强了，所以我们要努力的来对治。那从一年的季节上来讲的话，夏天就是雨季的时候，当然指的是当时的印度了。那应该避免这个铁器，因为如果我们使用铁器把它暴露在外的话，它就碰到水就容易生锈。那冬天呢，我们要小心那个陶做的器皿，因为天气太冷，它容易破掉。所以我们应该要知道如何因为一天或者是一天的时间或一年的季节呢，要对应用不同的方法来对治我们的贪嗔跟无明之心。
genyen지나 텐데기 genyen데 다시 산이 심푼으로 되잖아요. 신으로 되잖아요. 그냥 줄을 유배 genyen이 동바튼 상황 동로 그래 소양도 다 텐데 신의 송담만도 망보여 봐래. 대인도잖아요. 이제 성공을 가르친 거에서는 하는데네. 또 조대 가상 공도 동바세야데 두시지가 통해 조치는 로고 유도잖아요. 근데 문에기 300개 톤의 주랑 동바대 바지 동야긴 대반적으로당 근데긴 대바슈 침부 톤에 근데 내가 논주당 제기릭지 중앙이나 다 동바대 동로로 마도베 제당 거지 심표송아 잠지 동바대가 찬로 말레스 근데 인자 다 동바 동에 주스네 셰데야 그냥 근데 강사라 제벌 용그레스 강사 카시에다 지금 삼로근 누바양 슈충종 근데 지금 동바라양 귀샵당 동바라양 남주 지 가서 지송 된다기 싫다 맹경도 지나 근데 그 샘플을 가서 동시바레스 대마도 문내게 동바 송야근 되바여봐 근데 지금 송에게 샘데 만년바이나 다 시베 같은 소라인데 동바 동거 말해서야 대송거를 뒤인도 전에 동에 주의 뭐 동와야 요서야 대송
Now we come to the point that the 8 Vajra verses of the vital points of individual liberation, with the causes for losing the vow, it also happens that they are not lost. So, like for example, last time we have talked about the how we receive the vows and what are the like kind of the nature of the vows or the characteristic of the vows. So, for example, like kind of when we receive the vows of the Novik vows or whatever, and in the sleep, when we are sleeping, it is said that so our vows is there, but not in a kind of a very obvious manner, but in a very like in a lower, in a like kind of in a very embedded manner, our vows are there. And also usually in Tibet and also in Tibet and also in the Indian scholars have stated a different kind of like the vows, how it is maintained and how it is avoided and how it is one dismissed, how it is dismissed vows and how you get into downfalls of the vows. So usually they say sometimes, like for example, if you dismiss the vows or you lose the vows when you die, or sometimes they said when you lose the vow, when you do the actions, the non-virtuous action or whatever. So whereas here the Lord Jigdan Sumit stated is that, so for example, unless and until if you have a heart from yourself, from the pure heart to protect your vows and to observe your vows, it doesn't matter even if you die or like even if you die, or for example, even if you kill somebody else, being a like kind of novice monk, if you kill somebody else, but you don't have a mind or kill that person, if somehow in the act it was killed. In the same way, like when you die, it says you can lose your vows, but somehow the Lord Jigdan Sumit stated that if you have really have a good heart to protect it, and at the same time you really want to observe the vows, doesn't matter if you die also, you still maintain, still retain that vows. Therefore, it is stated that with the causes for losing the vows, it also happens that they are not lost.
那我们上一次有讲到这个别解脱戒这个如何受戒跟戒律的本质，不管我们受的是居士戒或者是出家戒等等。那这个戒行的维持是重要的，不管我们是在白天在造业的行事的过程当中，甚至在晚上在睡觉的时候当然它就变得比较隐晦一点了。在西藏或者是印度的学者对于这个如何持戒、舍戒与否，以及不持戒的破戒的这种过患等等都有所详释。那么一般人是认为说，当你如果说我们破戒的时候，当然是没有功德，就是损失这个功德的。但是吉天松公主师在这边讲到是说，如果我们有纯净的发心，而且很努力来持戒，那么即使我们在死亡的时候，还是能够保有戒体的。那么比如说这个跟一个有心杀人跟无心杀人，他的业是不一样的。所以这边就是吉天松公主师所讲到的第8计，以舍之因然不舍亦有。所以在别解脱要义的这个前几个偈颂我念一次：圣法毘奈那为共通乘，大乘法中尤须明安住，此唯遍知一切智慧知，纵有障碍亦定能生戒，其体性为极无表色故，一切堕罪想为其主导，故而意之三恶首应除，以舍之因然不舍亦有。 接下来的几个偈是：四波罗夷如欠债怀宝，今之一者，即证涅盘果，制罪性罪罪过乃为一，罪堕无有相异同一体。遮者本遮开许亦本开，法王通为一般众生智，众生往昔亦在造罪中，守护戒之利益亦定生，示而依轨更殊胜切要，不知愚痴罪过无更甚。畜生愚痴深重故低下，不受戒之罪更甚衰损。这个就是第三品别解脱品。
And the reason why Lord Jiten Sungin stated that is that, for example, during the time of Buddha, there is a story that there is one monk who went like during time of the Buddha, the monk who went out from his house, and when he come back, when he was out, somehow there came a snake and creep under his bed. And when this monk come back, the snake, and somehow the snake bite to this monk, and this monk passed away. And even after he passed away, he was being born in the like a goat land, and because of his practice of maintaining the vows during the time of he was in the human realm, and also his respect to the vows and the practice or the preservation of the vows. Because of that, he was being born in like a heaven realm, and even at the heaven, he was with the form of the like kind of the monks because of his respect and his so forth. So therefore, it is stated that even if you are being born in the next life, even if you have a like kind of you have an imprint in your mind stream, then it will impact you for your, like, for example, a novice monks also, if you die, but if you are being born as in the like kind of the higher realm, and at the same time you will receive the like kind of the your form as similar to that of your what you have done in the past. So therefore, it clearly proves that it affects, and it goes on the gives the like kind of imprint to the next life. So this is how the Lord Jesus proved that with the causes of losing the vow, it also shows that it has not lost the vows. Still, you carry the vows. That means even if you die, you will not lose the vows because of having a respect for that.
那么吉天松公是为什么这样讲呢？就提到一个故事，在佛陀的时候有一个比丘，那他从他自己的家里出来的时候，看到床底下有一条蛇盘在那里。那回家的时候，他不小心惊扰的那个蛇就被蛇咬，然后他就过世了。那因为他在生的时候是非常努力的持戒的，那么以此功德呢，受生天道。不但如此，他受生天道之后，也还是身为一个比丘相，所以即使在我们到了轮回到了下一世，我们心中持戒的人心中还会有戒的这种印记，不但能够受生善趣，还能够生成跟上一次相似的这个外相，以继续修行。所以这边他是提到说，戒呢，我们受的这个戒呢，这个即使是死亡呢， 我们还是可以继续的有这个戒体的。
로임 다 로임선은 야는 메상와 줘봐 다 개념의 개롱의 개수리는 메상와 줘봐 세르와 근데 개념도 지나 로임 세르와 대당 근데 준시야 디제틀 자와시 세르와 디인도 텐데기 판바지보데 별은 노르진하신데 스타티 빼송거 빼가르송 버스는 매지기 저랑라 준노롱주야 여den게 양드네 메젠다네 주 물텐데 야르샤와 있나 저랑 별은야 윤케 고 사무 찍다는 주보래 거래 잘한다면 강바 요래 사차 요래 신가 요래 야 사무 신다지는 당와이는 그 배제 장본다고 그 물요 말 물도 메신다는 저 야시 요래 인도 전에 별로야 연케 준노롱주야 연케 디나신레스 인도 전에 소주바 뽕외기 돈바데 타고 촐라차 송아이나 양 마진발렘 뽕외기 돈발라 소바디 줄을 댄데 요래 인도 전에 판바 찍 중하게 domba 차상되네와 책 말에 선 대송 말에
Now the ninth verses.
第九季四波罗夷如欠债怀宝。
wealthy debtor. And what it stated is that, for example, in the same way, it talks about the 4 downfalls, 4 defeats or downfalls. Like, for example, if like a novice monk kills somebody else, or somehow there is a like kind of some scholars stated that all the vows that he accumulated were all lost, will be got lost or will vanish. But somehow it is stated that like sometimes when you get lost of the vow of the killing, by killing, then you still have retained the vows for the practicing, the preservation of the like kind of like not stealing and so on and so forth. For example, if you talk about the like a novice, then it is known as the the sexual misconduct. But if you talk about the monks and nuns, then it's known as the pure sex. So you lose the vows for that. And it is stated that even if you lose one vows for the killing, but you still hold the vows, retain the vows of like not stealing or like this. And it's something like, for example, if you are kind of a rich person, you have money, but somehow you have lent your money to somebody else. But it means it's stated that though you have money, because money is in somebody else's hand, so you don't have it. So therefore, in the same kind of this person who are a wealthy person, but who have money, but at the same time the money is not in his hand. In the same way, the person who practice, like even some vows were broken, he retained some kind of vows which related to some other like kind of not stealing or not telling lie or so forth. So it's like this, some kind of this, it is similar to this. So therefore, Lord Jiten Sungin stated that the 4 defeats are like a wealthy debtor.
那么这个第9季讲到四波罗夷如欠债怀宝一样，他说如果说我们这个受的戒，但是没有犯那个戒，还是可以保有其他的戒的。这是吉天众公祖师的一种看法。举个例子来讲说，一个比丘如果他杀人的，那在过去一些戒师们他们的看法是，那么如果是这样子毁坏了这个戒，那其他的戒行都会失去了。那么当然因为他这个杀人失去这个不杀的这个戒，但是吉天宗宋公祖师的看法呢，他认为说其他的戒还是持有啊，比如说不盗啊，不去窃盗啊，不去邪淫啊，不去妄语等等的。 那么当然在这个刚刚这个看先有补充一下，就是邪淫这个戒呢，在家人是不邪淫，那出家人是不淫否则的话就算是违犯或者是失去这个戒行。那继续讲回来正题，就是一个有钱人呢，如果把钱借给别人的，他虽然名义上是有钱，但是钱是不在他手上的。所以呢，对持戒的人来讲呢，那他如果说犯了一个戒的话，并不代表说他其他的戒也都失去了，他还是会有其他的戒，只是说在这一个违的这个部分呢，算去失去了这个戒，或者是破了这个戒。
이는 우서 송의 값수 저한테는 차창 송 마토바 전에 찍니지 송바 이나야 대개양 타르투 산지의 공방토야 그 차투레스 대소만 타지 송은 되냐데스 단 대송도 전에 이제 담봉을 되주는나
So now the verses by keeping one vows, one will attain the result of nirvana. And what it states is that, like, for example, usually what happens in our society is that when you are receiving the vows, for example, the receiving the vows of novice, a lay or the monk novice, whatever, usually we have a saying that you should think carefully. Otherwise, if you don't practice well, it is no use, no point doing receiving the vows or taking the vows. It is of the mistake. So this is how you are refrained from receiving the vows and so forth. So therefore, what the Buddhism stated is that so it should be not like this because there is also the condition, the aspect. One aspect of protecting one vows. For example, if you couldn't observe all the vows, but somehow if you can observe one vows. For example, if you are receiving receiving the vows of novice monk or novice or novice monk, monks or nuns, whatever. But in the beginning, you take a very a motivation of our practice is very well, but somehow by the time you change your mind, you cannot protect it well. But somehow, even if you lose one or two vows, but still you are able to maintain some other vows. So this is how even one aspect of protecting the vows, it is possible that one will attain the result of nirvana. That's all.
那么第10即仅持一者即证涅槃果。那一般社会上的人的看法是说，你现在如果说要持戒的话，不管是居士戒或者是新出家的比丘等等，你们要受这个戒要很小心，因为如果你受的戒不好好持而破戒的，这样其实是有很大的过患的。那当时有些人会因为有这种担心或考量就不受戒了。那吉田松公祖师对这种情况是不太认同的。他说当然说我们受持的一个戒律应该好好的有对应的行为来保护我们的戒体，用一个适当的戒行出来。但是千万不要应该说你因为怕犯戒就不受戒，因为即使你对戒有所违犯，即使你能够好好的持一个戒，其实也能够为我们帮助我们导致有一天能够证悟解脱的。所以第10集这边讲仅持一者即证涅槃果。
대기 신간으로 배셔와이나 제 포숨 소바지 제발라 좀 망분 좀 고르와 이나야 토마 저 당부도 가르고 신가지 고르와 나라 로와 당분간에 신가 답사기 신가지 고요 이 신가기 저든 좀 인도 전에
신가 될 때는 저랑 마음보다는 렘 무슨 속까지 제약이 저 차투요 신가데 가르서는 저랑 신가 유배 좀 전에 때네 되니 내게 사원지 도야는 배준지기래 딘 내게 사원의 신가되는 땀내 다 디도로 루야게 추징 배준지기래 되니 디냠도 루야게 류징 배준 소용이래 디지도 전에 되니 신가 사분 추류 차상 전종인도 전에 나와 가시기 지라고 렘 무슨 속까지 톱톱을 봐 다 당보군의 신가다고 찍 매송아이나 파버도 신가대 매송아이나 근데 잼포선 소가 제대하게 주제한테 매송아래 베티나신도 당봉간서 내가 찍양다 봐지 송 톱송아이나 근데 되게 돈에 니송 도바차 송송 도바차네 내가 산지 고마도 그래 세 대송 말해
So now when we talk about the one will also able to attain the result of nirvana. We should think about this. The concept is that it doesn't actually means that by just observing one vows, you will be able to attain the nirvana or Buddhahood or whatever. But what it means here is that, for example, if you in the beginning, if you protect one vows, then because of that, you would be able to preserve the other vows, the two. Then if you are able to practice the two, then with your capacity, then you would be able to do for the third vows. So therefore, gradually with your capacity, with your kind of like motion, you could be able to practice all the vows. So because of your practicing one vows, you are able to do the two. Because you're able to do the two vows perfectly, then you are able to do three. And after that, you go on for all the vows to be able to practice well. So in the same way, for example, like in order to have a very like kind of the rice, a good rice, good, the quality rice. First and foremost is we have to have the field where to grow the rice. So for example, if you don't have the field, then no point of thinking about whatever the like possibilities of the rice. If you have a field to grow the rice, then there's a possibility of, like looking for the seed. So if you look for the seed, if you have a seed in the field, then you'll gradually look for the water and, gradually look for the fertilizer. So if all these conditional factors were all conducive there or, come together, gathered together, then after some months, it's possible that you will be able to get a good rice or whatever. So in the same way, this is how it was stated here in the like kind of the 10th verses. By keeping one vow, one will attain the result of nirvana. Last one.
那这一句的意思并不是说我们只有持一戒就一定会证得涅槃果的，并不是这样子。那而是说什么呢？而是说，如果说我们今天努力受戒，然后努力持一个戒的话，有这样子的一个心态跟行为，就有可能能够持守第二个戒，然后慢慢的能够持第三个戒，慢慢增加自己的能力。能够到最后能够持守自然的能够持守一切的戒。举一个例子来讲，我们今天想要有好吃的米饭呢，我们必须第一步就是要找一个地方来耕种，有一个稻田来种稻，然后再来第二步就去找种子，稻米的种子，然后再加勤于加水加肥料等等。如果这些因缘都聚合了，那或许在几个月之后可能可以收成一个好的这个稻米。所以这个也是同样的道理。那我们从持守一戒开始到慢慢增加我们的能力，那变成自然而然的就可以持守一切戒，而能够到最后的证悟涅槃，证得佛果这样子。
랑싱게 칸나 만토와 사인도 전에 땅문에게 뒤 나는 유배게 되는 행동 그 동본다고 지가 상관단에 되는 제바당 제배 칸나 만토와다 랑싱게 칸나 만토와 세티니보데 나 되는지 카가 임반다고 되는 지가 대신하는 거예요. 다 단단되는 지된 송거 가르 송거에서는 제배 칸나 만토와다 랑싱 칸나 만토와 세야테 민카가레스 된다지바레스 빼는 안준 참참 디세기로와 다 벽에 도는 쉬워이나 빠양 세기도 한거 잠바 줄제네 우저제와들 빠 세기로와 양 농바 가시게들 생양 세기도 띵드는 거 생당 쉬 야나 빠 근데 그 맹타 대바지그레데 된다고는 너도 대가랑 찌기만 한신도 제배 칸는 만도와서야 되나 란신게 칸는 만도와서야 돼 맹타 대바니 차용요레스 대마도베 되게 차네 군주님의 제발 제요 말에 니가 돼 디바 메게와 임바 찍바레 대송 말에 제다라는 시 칸는 만도 제세야 돼.
Now the 11 verses, the established and the natural misdeeds are the same. So, like what it talks about is like, for example, there are two different kind of the like kind of downfalls. That is, one is the established or the prescribed one. Like Buddha said, this has to be done, this has not be done, or something like that. And one is the natural misdeeds. So usually in Tibet, in those days, not only in Tibet, but also in India, so there are different concepts on these 2 points. Somehow many like scholars, they said that the one which is prescribed or established vows is like a kind of fencing for the plants or trees. And the one which is the natural misdeeds are the like kind of the trees. And these two, these two are the different in nature. But somehow Lord Jigten Sumyin stated that these two things are not other than each other. They are in different names or in different form maybe, but they are same thing. How, for example, if you talk about the Tibetan, say about the pak means like kind of, the flower which is molded together, or, this one. And sometimes it is known as the Zen. So both the pak and Zen means the same thing, though it has a different name. So therefore, in the same way, like the established or the natural misdeeds are actually the same thing. So this is what Lord Jigten Sumyin state here.
在第11季这边讲的是治罪性罪罪过乃为一。那这边讲的是说犯戒的2种情况，一个是故意的，一个是不小心的。那在这个藏地呢，有不同的一种看观点，他们是认为就是说，你故意犯戒跟你一个不小心犯戒，它是这个是不一样的。那么就好像有一些植物是你这个特意去栽种的，跟自然生长出来的是不太一样的。但是吉天松公祖师认为，就是说在外相上或许有所不同，那么但是在本质上却是一样的。不管是说故意犯戒还是不小心犯戒，它的本质都是一样的，所以它的过患也是相同的。所以这一季是治罪性罪罪过乃为一。
다 동화서인도 전에 된대기 딕바트네지 제제와이나 소제제와이나 마진발렌제와이나 디긴 제우들랑 간도 가완도 요르스나 녜송근이라 동로 요르 틴도 동화서면 따버와 근데 인도 전에 디바도 동화세 니고 들어야 타대요 말에 스콘존이 되는지바래 해서야 됐단 말이에요.
The Vajra verse, the 12th Vajra verses stated that vice and the downfall are not different but the same. So like it is actually almost similar to the 11th Vajra verses. And what is stated here is like, Lord, there are some scholars who talks about differently about the non-virtues and the downfalls. So here in the Tibetan word, dikpa, which means like kind of when they say it is in terms of like talking, you know, about in terms of the causes, and the tuwa means downfall, means in terms of the consequences. So it's just the different name given in terms of causes and one in terms of the consequences. Rather than that, it's actually the same thing. Like, for example, sometimes people may like kind of like showing like kind of you know, harm to other people. So this is known as the like kind of the dikpa, which means when it in the terms of the causes. But somehow, for example, for example, you know, if you are staying like a long life or whatever, if you're doing something good, then you will be being born as in like a fortunate lane, or if you're doing something bad, then you are being born as in an unfortunate lane. That means you are being born, or you're downfall, you go down. Like, for example, if you kill some sentient beings, and because of that, if you are being born in the lower lane, then it's a consequences there. So what the Lord Jesus stated is that it is just name, or you know, which define in terms of the causes, and one which defines in the terms of the consequences, the cause and you know, effect. So rather than that, there's nothing different. Both the downfall and the non-virtues are not different but the same thing. That's all.
那第12集是罪堕无有相异同一体。那他这个讲法主要就是说，当时一样的在藏区的学者讲到说，这个过患不善行以及他的过患呢，藏文 dipa。那他的如果说是从因来讲，从结果上来讲，或许因为它的原因不一样，结果不一样，但是我们要知道说，不管你违犯的是过去的因，或者是这一次的这种过患的话，它的结果都是相同的。只要你是行善的话，你的结果就是受生善趣；你行恶的话，相对应的就是容易受生到恶趣。那么当然一个人在这一辈子杀的人的话，他很可能就是会受生到恶趣去。所以呢，我们不管我们去从外向他的因是如何造成这种恶行或犯戒的原因，或者是结果呢，是如何的这个对应的结果是怎么样呢？两者不管我们是有意违犯还是无意违犯呢，它的不算跟他的过患跟他的结果都是相同的。
산제기 마송wen 흐네양 코랑 예가레스 니 예가 세안데 코랑기 토네 가샤와 메게와데 메게와 코랑기 ngo고 토네 고 대외기 주인바 가지고 랑싱기 산제기 보고 말했대 산제기 오다 대외기 주데 개와임바 저와 메게웨 동해기 주데 디바임바 산제기 저자와 말해 가인스나 디바 메게와데 코랑 대외기 주인바데 예네 가샤와레 코랑 랑싱기 가바레 근데 인자 산제기 가바튼소 산제기 가샤와 말해 예가레스 디치그레 근데 나와 예낭 소인도 전에 산제기 제초고 말해 소야기 디바 메게웨 리튼소 딱 개와 산제기 제 고그레 룩 고레소는 나외 계획이 릭텐소데 코랑 대화 용약이 주임바티 얘는 나와래 대코랑 주코랑기 ngola 얘네 그 대외기 주임바래 마도페 산제기 대외 주임바 주제바데 개말에 딘디 가와예가 나와예나 선 대송거 대마도 먼저 망보지기 가성거에서나 산제기 추세 추루세 추세야 지금으로와 낭배기 추세야 돼 산제기 주제원도지 그러와 산제 계시 텐데진네 지 추의 마송원이나 배치 드네 추 고난게 내당데 근데 많이 배송도지 왜냐 추의 담제가 지 동반이래서 시행도 전에 산제기 동인 대시 잡네 동이 차송와 난심마도 딩흥라 동이 많이 배송도지 근데 삼당으로와 때 말에스 딘디 가과 예가래 나와 예낭래 스테송바래
第13计，遮者本遮开许亦本开。
Now the 13th verses, when we come to the 13 verses, the prohibitions are always prohibited and the permissions are always permitted. Now this is very important for the part here in this point, and what it means is that usually when we talk about the vows and the prohibited of the what is to be done and what is not to be done, so usually we think about these are all created by the Buddha, something like before Buddha it was not happening, or after Buddha it was all invented by the Buddha, that all like non-virtues should be abandoned and all the virtues should be practiced and accumulated, and all the virtues which is the causes for the like kind of happiness, peace, and so forth are actually invented by the Buddha, and the causes for that are invented by the Buddha, and also the one for the non-virtuous action, and it's are all invented by the Buddha. So it's like, for example, we talk about the Buddha Dhamma. So we think about kind of, all these kind of like prescribed prohibition of all this vow, or, the protection of all this vow are actually mentioned by the Buddha. But whereas it's not something like that. What Lord Jigten Sumil stated is that even before coming the Buddha, the one which is downfall or the non-virtues is always the non-virtues. And one which is permissible and, it's accounted for the practice. It's always there for the practice. It's not that Buddha came and Buddha make it. It's not something like that. For example, when we talk about it, because of this, the Sanjay, it's a Buddha's teaching. So, and it's just invented by the Buddha. It is not something like that. And also when we talk about the emptiness, like emptiness because of the Buddha, so we have like invented, or we have come to the now thing talking about emptiness. It's not something like that. So emptiness and all these kind of things are already there. The virtues and non-virtues are already there. It's always non-virtues. It is always the kind of virtues. If that is virtues, all the time it's virtues. If it is non-virtues, all the time it's non-virtues. But somehow here, what Buddha did was, Buddha just discover the reality of the virtues and non-virtues. And that's how he just display, or he just like kind of show to the other sentence base. That's the reality or the nature of reality. So this is how it is stated in the virtual releases. The prohibited are always prohibited, and the permissions are always permitted. Last one.
那么第13计呢，讲的是遮者本遮开许亦本开。 那么这样讲的意思是什么呢？就是说，因为佛陀的法教呢，有些是可以做的，有些是不可以做的。那么大家认为说这些戒律的制定，什么应做，什么不应做，这是由佛陀所制定的，因为在佛陀之前并没有这种讲法。那么因为佛陀的法教而有的，我们要行善舍恶去恶，然后行善就可以得到乐果。那这些因缘因果的道理等等，都是由佛陀所创造出来的。那么这个吉天松共祖师在这一记里面指出说，这是不对的想法，如同佛法一般。那么这些并不只是由佛陀释迦牟尼佛所制定的，就对就是对，错就是错，什么可以做，什么不可以做，都是原版就是这样子的。并不是因为有释迦牟尼佛的制定而一下子才会有突然有说这个是好的，这是不好，这可以做，那不可以做的。他们的存在跟佛陀的法教没有直接的关联，就好像空性一般，原本我们就都有空性。这个空性的这个并不是由佛陀所创造出来，而是由他发现出来。那所以说善就是善，恶就是恶。
And for example, here,
只是把它发现而把它阐述而已。
Usually, the harmness of the things with the substance there in the white sugar is always there. And for example, if you don't know there is a harmness in the white sugar, and after you eating that, or after you using the white sugar, and after sometimes when you feel that, you came to know that there is a substance which can harm your health. And it proves that it is not that after you using the sugar, the harm came. Actually, the substance for the harming is always there before you eat the sugar, already there in the sugar. In the same way, the virtues and non-virtues, like for example, with the virtues, which is helpful, and with the non-virtues, which is harmful to you, is not invented by the Buddha. And Buddha is not a creator, like kind of as we have stated last time. Like for example, Buddha is not someone who is there to prohibit you not to do this, not to do that, or who is not someone who is there to ascribe you to do, ascribe you to do this and that one. So what he did was he just came to realize the nature of reality and try to share the understanding of the reality. So that's how he was just sharing his knowledge, not that he is supposed to be like kind of inventing or creating, the objection or putting like kind of opposing you not to do this or that, but he is just in a state of revealing the truth. Last one.
那么这个举一个生活上的例子，就是我们知道吃白糖对我们身体是有害的，但是这个跟我们知不知道白糖对我们身体有害，吃的都是一样的结果，或者是说白糖的有害并不是说在我们吃了之后才会产生的，即使我们不去吃它，白糖也是会造成，也有可能对身体造成危害的。所以相同的道理呢，所谓的善跟不善，什么应做什么不应做，并不是由佛陀来发明的，并不是说由佛陀制定之后才知道说我们才必须遵循说什么应该做什么不应该做，只是他把这个实相发现出来，他观察这个法界的状况，了解到一些实相，把它呈现出来让我们知道。 跟我们分享。所以这些所谓的戒律啊，什么应做，什么不应做等等的善不善，不是由他所制定，或者是由他发明出来的，只是他了解的这个道理，把它呈现给我们了解罢了。
gewa pang dugore diwa pang gore sene tendegi sanjege dan donna chuge pongbo jete chidong kare songba inaya tamche de tene lam chinjilo ba pangwar cheba lam yangda wa dubra chebegi da tendegi chuge temba indu zane ote tene simchen tamche le tene songjebe chuge res de madobe gergi chuge de ke mare sene songbare
Now the 14th Vajra verse.
第14句，法王通为一般众生智。
The king of Dharma established the Vinaya for beings in general. So usually we think that, like for example, if it is prescribed, it's always prescribed, and it is ascribed, it's always ascribed, or it's objected, or it's prohibited, then it's always prohibited. Because of that, the Buddha have given the teachings, or Buddha has given the teachings. So what the Buddha stated is that it is actually not only for the Buddhist practitioner, because it depends upon if you really want a peace or happiness for the kind of temporal peace and happiness, or the ultimate peace and happiness. So it is a question of whether you want the ultimate peace and happiness, or the whether you need it's not a question of whether you are Buddhist or non-Buddhist or whatever. It doesn't make sense here. So what Buddha said is, like for example, if whoever practice, even if he or she is not a Buddhist, doesn't matter. The fruit will be accomplished if you listen to the Buddha and if you practice what he said. And if you go through the path, then it is definitely, we are bound to accomplish the result. But when the Buddha gives the teaching, it's not just for the monks and nuns and who listen to the Buddha, but also for all sentient beings, because all sentient beings have kind of whoever wishes. So therefore Buddha never make any demarcations like this is only for the one who listen to me or monks or nuns, but it is a natural phenomena. It is a natural reality that all sentient beings, whoever practice that, could be able to receive the benefits from it. So therefore it is stated that the king of Dharma established Vinaya for beings in general.
那么第14句是讲法王通为一般众生智，所谓的这个戒律或者是什么应该做，什么不应该做的，这并不只是为佛教徒所制定的。那主要的我们要去问的是，我们自己是不是要得到究竟的快乐？那要不要快乐，要怎么去做呢？跟我们自己是不是佛教徒的这种身份是没有直接的关联的。如果说你依教奉行，好好的修行的话，必然有它的结果。那么戒律也不是为了听他讲法的这些比丘、比丘尼而才能适用的。所有的普罗大众，如果是这样子做的话，自然就能够得到相对的功德利益。所以这一偈颂是讲法王通为一般众生智。所以之前是讲到说这些戒律并不是他所发明出来或制定的，他只是把它阐述出来让我们知道。然后这边是讲到说，不论你的身份，你相不相信呢？那么这个都是适用的。 tonjo koran group jigwa ina choba jigwa ina jigila roba cheya
초박하가 있는 지금 네바치야 되는 용으로 이나 준제서야 될 대요 말에 된두 되네 너가 관계되지 니바 용그레스 되네 계세양 수송와이나 산지기 송바 난신 전에 지다 메게와 주방외기 개와 주dum네 된제기 지 침대 양다와 송대바이나 밀라이나야 표현 토그레 돈조이나야 표현 토그레 디 표현들 제발서 계획 말에스 송의 표현이 끊는 중세야 대송바래
Hello.
Hello.
Singing the
Rodula sonda.
Oh, the Shugudi test goma sonda.
Lasala Tibare Kasana. The Sanjegi Sumbasana and Junde Korang and Netan the Mangarwa, Suit and Lalaya, which you want to pay on your grace. Suit and Yaval and Deswan, and Niva Yungres at Tirwala.
So now the 15 and 16 verses actually they define the 14 then 14 and the 13 verses which describe about the 14 and 13 verses, and what it states is like, for example, whichever being transgressed the general, then for example doesn't matter whether you're Buddhist or whether you're not, or whether you're animal or whatever. If you commit the mistakes, if you make the mistake, then you are bound to face the results, which is the problem, or which is the problem or the suffering. So in the same way, if you cultivate the causes of which is beneficial, or virtues or whatever, you are bound to face you are bound to receive the result, favorable results. So whatever it is being, for example, if you are keeping vows, or therefore, like if you keep a vows as stated by the Buddha, then there is a beneficial, whether you're human, whether you're not human, animal, or whatever, it doesn't matter. So therefore, it is stated that in the 15, whichever being transgressed the general Vinaya is at fault, and at the same time, the benefits of keeping vows also occur for everybody. It is same.
那么接下来第15季、16季，它是在进一步来阐述刚刚第13季、14季的。15季、16季是众生往昔亦在造罪中，首复皆知利益已变生。那么这边讲的是说，一切所戒的这个戒条所这个制定的这个过犯呢，如果说违犯这个戒律所造成的这种过犯，无论你的身份是什么，你是佛教徒也好，你是畜生道的动物也好，如果有所违犯，自然会有苦果。如果说依此而行善的话，自然会有些善果。那么自然如果能够好好持戒，无论你是不是人，自然会有他的一个善果的。那所以这个呢，这个跟你的身份是不是人，是不是畜生道的众生等等，这是没有直接关联的。该怎么做就会有怎么样的结果，这个是相对应的。所以从这个第15季、16季现在再进一步阐述第13季跟14季。
In the 17 verses, for the Vinaya teachings, the ritual is especially important. So usually what happens here is that sometimes if it is same for everybody to practice and the same result, everybody gains then. So what is the point of having all this kind of ritual or the the practice of receiving the method of receiving the vows and so forth is not required. And if somebody say this one, then the Lord Jesus will say that no, it is not like this. It is important to have the ritual, and which is very especially important. The reason why is, for example, if you practice, through the rituals, through the method and practice, if you receive the vows and if you make a commitment, then there is a strong sense of putting your effort there. You're giving like a chance of giving the effort there, and at the same time, it will refrain you from committing non-virtuous actions. Why? Because in your mind, in the core of your heart, there is something which pulls you back by thinking that, oh, I have took the vows, I've taken the promise, so I have to do that. It's not good to just be easy. So for example, if you didn't take the vows, then what usually we think is, oh, I didn't take the vow, it's okay, I can do relax, or I can take it easy. So therefore, in order to not to have this kind of condition, this kind of incidents or conditions. So therefore, when you take the vows of the novice or the novice monk or the whatever, so it is good to have the commitment or the promise through the doing the practice or through cultivating the like kind of the methods of doing all this. And therefore, the Vinaya teaching, the ritual is especially very important. That's all.
那
第17计讲的是示而依轨更殊胜切要。那我们很快讲一下。那有人讲说，如果说不管我们受不受戒，知不知道我们这样子做该做的就好了，为什么还要有一个受戒的仪式呢？吉天松公主是在讲说，若能有这个受戒的这个仪式的话，这是很好的，因为我们在有一个受戒的仪式，我们自己知道已经持戒了，我们要好好的来下定决心，努力持戒，提醒自己不要违犯。那么在我们心中，把我们好像一个东西把我们无形中抓紧了，不要让自己去犯戒，这是好事的。如果说我们没有这个受戒的仪式，那我心里面可能会想说，我既然没有受戒的话，我就可以轻松自在，比较随便，那也会有这样子的因缘产生。所以呢，如果说能够有一个受戒的仪式的话，对我们来讲就更加能够持守戒律，所以对我们的这个行为呢，对这个持戒的这个过程那个行为呢，会更有帮助的。所以今天就讲到这里，是现在结行回向。以此功德得证一切见，击败一切过患，自抵众生老病死杂乱之波涛。轮回大海，愿度诸众生，祈求上师慧体圣妙康，祈求尊生寿命及久长，祈求事业旗帜圆满盛。愿得无离上师其加持，犹如文殊勇士大智慧，复是普贤菩萨如是信，随其彼等一切我学习此功德等一切尽回向。佛陀三身得正之加持，法性不变真谛之加持，生邪坚固聚集之加持，如是回向，其愿成就。以我以及一切有情众，三世所积善业与佛性，愿我于等虚空诸众生，速证无上正等觉妙宝。
yang tabara zobe chanchu rinpo che tobara
所知遍照遍智法之尊，缘起借助自在只共八，人间八之教法遍有记，讲修愿由闻思修持之。殊胜菩提心妙宝，未生起者愿生起，已生者亦不退失，其愿辗转更增上。
공내 공도 배월 쇼 拉索。啊，听你买的，听你讲都都在几万节用。
Thank you,
好，今天就讲到这里，就下个礼拜见。那我们下个星期二同样的时间，就是加州早上7点半，在亚洲是晚上10点半来跟大家开讲。那现在主办单位来跟所有的一个恳签以及堪布的法教跟翻译以及各个所有的口译者，不管是越南文、这个德文、英文、中文等等的，所以还有苏俄文，所以谢谢各位。那我们下个礼拜二再见，晚安。
Interpreters to everyone. Can you end interpreter?
Thank you, Rinpoche and Handpola.
For everyone's participation.
谢谢工作人员。